Trapmore gang, in the Epstein files, there have been some very, very disturbing references to the various methods that Jeffrey Epstein was using to procure kids. Now, there's apparently been some connections made to what appears to be some kind of adoption agency, and these links are very, very disturbing. I'm going to break it all down to you in this video. One of the people whose names has come up frequently, all right, in the Epstein files is Susan Hamblin, okay? Now, just recently, okay, Representative Anna Luna basically revealed that Susan Hamblin was actually the very individual who sent this disturbing email. It said, "Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty." Now, she's revealed and basically said, Susan Hamblin sent this email. She took a plea deal and was given victim status under previous Department of Justice. Department of Justice should look into charges. Possible human rights violations were committed by Susan. I say that based on other files with her name on it. These women don't get to hide behind redaction. There were so many victims, none of which did what Susan did. This needs to be reopened. She said need to reopen them files. Now, Susan, also referred to as Sue in some emails, was actually linked to another email where she apparently gave Epstein permission to kill somebody. So this was also going around. It says, it's looking very likely that Epstein victim Susan Hamblin sent the permission to kill email to Epstein. And it said Epstein responded with whoops, which appeared to be a code word for nefarious acts like R and murder. And this comes after Representative Luna confirmed that Hamblin sent the littlest girl email. It said, I give you permission to kill him. He apparently is with Olga. He lied to you and he lied to me. Replied, whoops. It said, no one will lie to you and get away with it from me. No one, whoops, is correct. That's pretty insane. And you can kind of see that this says Susan Hamblin behind the reaction, which is quite funny. Now, as online investigators have kept digging into her name, they discovered Susan's supposed links with an adoption agency. So this is a post that's going around on Facebook. It says, stop CPS from legally kidnapping children. Susan Hamblin is the founder of Kids to Families adoption agency for Epstein. Trafficked children are silenced with threats to kill them and their families. Look at this.
Check this out. Poorly redacted. Check this out. I give you permission to kill him. He is apparently with Olga. He lied to you. He lied to me. And you can kind of make out the name here to be one Susan Hamblin. Here's an enhanced image. You could read right there, Susan Hamblin. So who is Susan Hamblin? Well, she is evidently a financial advisor and founder of the adoption agency Kids to Families. Looks like the agency no longer exists, but I was able to find this archive in the Wayback Machine. At this point, we still don't know who Olga is, but according to reporting, it says that the only time the name has come up in the Epstein case is when his former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, recounted getting a massage from a woman of the same name at Epstein's place. Now, interestingly, a few years ago, Susan Hamblin sued News Group Newspapers, the publisher of The Sun, who had printed that Susan Hamblin had groomed and procured a 16-year-old woman to be sexually abused by Epstein and told her that Epstein would kill her and her family if she told anyone what Epstein had done. They've since removed those articles and agreed to pay her a substantial compensation. But one Sue Hamblin can be seen in this photo with Jeffrey Epstein describing her to be his alleged assistant, as well as this photo of her leaving Jeffrey Epstein's New York City apartment describing her as a long-term confidant. A lot of stuff going on here, but the lesson is that this is all information that the DOJ wants to hide from us, but thank goodness the internet is still undefeated.
So look, I don't want to get sued by Susan Hamblin, so I just want to make it very clear. I don't believe any of this stuff. This is just absolute internet rumors. This is all everybody. It's just a bunch of opinions on the internet. I couldn't confirm or deny the veracity of any of the things that are being covered in this video. However, as it turns out, the founder of that very organization was apparently an elderly woman who happened to share the same name. Okay, they're saying that this is Sue Hamblin. All right, this is Sue Hamblin. They're saying that it was might have been a different woman. Okay, so this is going around r/Epstein. It says, she did not run an adoption agency. That's another woman in Washington state that unfortunately shares the same name as this Epstein associate and alleged recruiter. I believe the Washington Sue Hamblin is being erroneously cited in this sub, Instagram and TikTok because she's a financial advisor and is associated with an adoption agency. These are just unfortunate coincidences. The Sue Hamblin with the adoption agency can be connected to an obituary for her husband, which states she was married in, I believe, 1987. This Sue Hamblin probably wasn't even born yet. So just to make it clear, all right, there is another explanation. They're saying that maybe she wasn't the one who had an adoption agency. Obviously, she sued the son and got some payments. So people are saying, I just caught up to speed on this. It appears that this Sue has a profile on Arconnect, a website for connecting architects. So she apparently had a Pinterest account that was wiped. You can see some of the images by doing an image search and LinkedIn saying she's in the UK or the EU. I believe same pictures seems to have been used for all 3 accounts. People have probably already seen these, but thought to mention it anyway, just in case somebody hadn't. I just caught up on her too. They want to prosecute her for human rights violations in connection to what she did to a very little girl and in referencing to having someone murdered. So the other day I was able to search Hamblin and see many results of emails from Susan Hamblin, but they aren't there anymore. It seemed like she was an employee or secretary type for Epstein. She was coordinating flights, taking care of guests, and was asked if she had his passport. There was some interior design stuff mentioned, but it was clear that she was not just his interior designer as has been mentioned. Unfortunately, it's no longer showing up. Edit, this email is from Susan Hamblin and it's a list of what she does for Epstein, and it was previously unredacted. So let's see, is it being redacted into high heavens? This apparently is a list of things that he deals with. Okay, this is no excuse for I clearly fucked up with the shirts, but just a list of things that I deal with. Dinners, blank. Flights and other transport for blank. Jean-Luc's apartment. Not Jean-Luc Brunel, who also took his own life in prison. That would be interesting. New ACs in apartments, Wi-Fi at your home, helping blank move. Liaising with FedEx and Daphne every day regarding shipping of sculptures. I have email proof, and we are in the process. Carpet for the plane. Fabrics for the island. Training blank's sister at apartments. Excuse me? Excuse me? Orders for all apartments and sorting between them, linens and towels, guest apartment welcome letters, guest apartment food when requested, setting up trade accounts with fabric stores, sourcing vendors, etc. to make up outside island cushions, letting blank in and out of the house at all hours to make jerky, sourcing furniture for blank bedroom. Okay, sure. That is a little bit disturbing. Letting blank in the house at all hours of the night to make jerky. Odd. I think Epstein had a weird fixation with beef jerky for a while. He had a chef who was making it for him and dropping it off at his place. If you search jerky in the files, you'll see a lot of coordinating of beef jerky deliveries. Lol. It's seeming like human meat from recent theories. I think that's likely. I also see discussions about actual beef jerky recipes and him always wanting to have beef jerky and Greek yogurt around as a part of a high protein diet he's on. And it seems like beef jerky could actually be the snack. The language about sushi and white tuna and shrimp feels a little weird. But then again, it's also weird to think that they could actually just be talking about snacks. It says, can you figure out who this is? I've never seen it before, but I know Sue Hamlin is sometimes said to have been a Parsons student, and Parsons is mentioned here. I don't know who it is, but I found a similar thread on who I think Nadia Marcinkova is. Can't remember dates, but I'm guessing same time period. There are more than just the 2 of them, and he's pitting all of them against each other, really effed up. But Nadia kind of plays him back eventually. Search the word puppies, which is sometimes code for girls, but he also got pet puppies for a couple of these girls, and there are many messages where he's fighting with one of them about the puppies. Very sad and creepy to read all these classic narcissistic abuse tactics. Elvira Hamblin mentioned here could be her mother based on the age. Sue seems very young. Wonder if she was a victim groomed to work for him. Gone. File's gone. Is the file actually gone? They got rid of the file? There it is. So this appears to be some more organizational stuff going on. Not really that interesting, to be completely honest with you. It says at the rate they delete the files, a bot is needed that posts archive linked for all hyperlinks that return a 404. That's a photograph together by David Glynn in 2019 with the note, Jeffrey Epstein left, young woman Sue Hamblin alleged to be his assistant on the corner of 38th Street and 2nd Ave, New York City. There they are. There he is. Hopping in what looks like is that a Bentley? Looks like a Bentley, very, very fancy pants. Okay. This guy's a creep. How does this make sense? He died in August 2019. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where's the date? Is there a date? 07/08/19. It must have been posted on 07/08/19. Because when he landed back in the US after being in Paris, I believe he was immediately arrested. But hey, who knows? Who knows? Everything's different, all right? She was declared to be the person redacted under the message, your littlest girl was a little naughty. And there's actually been talk that maybe she was referring to herself as the littlest girl, okay? A bit late when I was first looking for her info, I think I found 4 years worth of transactions. Epstein seemed to be paying $100K a year of her expenses. The unredacted stuff has been deleted, but there is one last quick report where Sue is redacted on each line. It says she's tiny or her bag is huge. Was she talking about herself? This is the bullshit these half-assed dumps cause. No context, no previous conversation. She obviously worked for Epstein but may have arranged travel. Should still be investigated. Exactly why it's dumb to dump this in public, because anyone who was here during the Boston Marathon bombings would have told you the same thing would happen here too. Reddit smooth brains being Reddit smooth brains. Okay, well, look, we're trying to get to the bottom of absolutely everything. We're reading both sides, and we're setting the record straight. Okay. I'm very weary of a conversation turning to focus on women who were once recruited by Epstein themselves, while people like Trump, Wexner, Leon Black are still evading consequences. Oh, no. Oh no, but she did sue the Sun over libel claims. All right. So for the record, I don't want to get sued either. All right. I don't believe any of this. I think she's a great person, never did anything wrong. Susan Hamblin has won her libel and data protection claim against the publisher of The Sun. Her complaint related to 3 articles and a video published on The Sun, which reported on a US legal claim alleging abuse by Jeffrey Epstein. The joint statement in open court read before Mr. Justice Nicklin in the High Court yesterday made it clear Miss Hamlin had nothing to do with the events reported in the US legal claim. The allegations made against her were completely untrue. And I've said that in this video once again, all right? So if she's upset by what I said in this video, you know, let's just say I was a little naughty. All right, I was a little naughty. But anyway, okay, the actual Susan Hamblin was, you know, basically... She was directly implicated in a lawsuit for her alleged role in a survivor's assault. Okay, this is just, you know, I'm not saying it's, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's 1,100% exactly what happened, but this is an allegation that was filed. Okay, and let me show you the relevant parts. So it says here, the suit arises out of Jeffrey Epstein's blank assault and R-word of plaintiff. Plaintiff Carolyn Kaufman was blank assaulted and R-word by Jeffrey Epstein in approximately December 2010 when she was 17 in New York City. Plaintiff Caroline Kaufman, okay, basically initially met Epstein through his close associate, Susan Hamblin, at a horse show in Lake Placid early 2010. Hamblin approached Kaufman to ask her if she was a model. Hamblin told Kaufman that her boss could help her get into the modeling industry. During these conversations, Kaufman made it clear to Hamblin she was only 16. Following the meeting, Hamblin then pursued Kaufman on behalf of Epstein by calling her repeatedly through 2010. Eventually, in and about December 2010, Kaufman was driven by a family friend from her home to Epstein's Manhattan mansion at the instruction of Hamblin to perform a modeling interview with Hamblin's boss, Epstein. Upon entering the Manhattan home, Kaufman was introduced to a number of people. One of the individuals she was introduced within the Epstein mansion was Andrew Albert Christian Edward, aka Prince Andrew, Duke of York. Oh, no. After a short period of time, Kaufman was escorted to a private area and told to completely undress for an older woman who took some photos of Kaufman. Kaufman's under the reasonable belief and understanding this older woman was Ghislaine Maxwell. While Kaufman remained in the private area, Maxwell left the room with the camera, and shortly thereafter, Maxwell came back and advised Kaufman that her boss wanted to meet her. She put a bikini back on and was escorted into a massage room. Epstein was nude on the massage table as she entered the room. After Maxwell left the room, Epstein got up off the table, grabbed Kaufman, threw her against the massage table, and during this encounter, Epstein violated the young woman while saying, I know you love it. Kaufman was screaming for help during this encounter, but no one came to rescue her. Upon finishing, Epstein left the room. She put on her bikini and clothes and started hyperventilating. Then she exited the massage room. Upon exiting the room, Hamblin handed Kaufman $500 cash and said, Epstein is a very powerful man and he knows presidents. If you say anything, he will kill you and your family. After the vicious encounter, she immediately left the mansion. It is disgraceful. Okay. That's being alleged. Can't say it's proven. Can't say it's absolutely, you know, it's fucked. All right. It's fucked. That's what's going around. Okay. Now, for the record, the UK newspaper The Sun published these accusations, but Hamlin sued the publication for libel and she ultimately won her case. So just to make it clear, all right, these are just allegations. They haven't been proven in a court of law. This is The Sun apologizing to Susan Hamblin over serious libels. I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, big apologies to Susan Hamblin over the serious libels. There's some serious libels going on, and the allegations are pretty dark. But as you can see, Clearly that didn't happen, all right? Clearly that didn't happen. So Miss Hamblin's complaint referred to 3 articles and a video published. I already told you this, right? She engaged in a pre-action correspondence with The Sun, having reached no satisfactory resolution. She proceeded to sue the publisher in recognition of the falsity of the allegations. The Sun took the articles down and made an offer of amends to Miss Hamblin, a procedure whereby a newspaper admits liability and agrees to pay. Pursuant to that offer of amends and in settlement, both the libel and data protection claim, The Sun agreed to publish a report of the statement in open court containing a correction and an apology to Miss Hamblin and to pay her substantial compensation as well as her legal costs in order to compensate her for the distress caused. Can you imagine we live in a world where these sorts of allegations are thrown around? And Susan Hamblin's getting significant compensation, substantial compensation. It's crazy, all right? But that's what's going down. That's what's going down. She was represented by Nigel Tate, and Mathilde Groppo of Carter Ruck, and Adam Specker QC, and Victoria Jolioff of 5RB. She got the legal dream team on her side. Okay, so you gotta be careful what you say about her, right? You gotta be careful what you say about her. Now, interestingly enough, looking back at 2011, there were a lot of emails that seemed to indicate that Epstein's operation allegedly involved him receiving massages multiple times a day. Okay. So he would be going back and forth with people. Little Katya at 11 a.m. or Olga. Olga can do 11. Little Katya can only do 12. Olga from Jeffrey Epstein. Okay from blank. All right. So these massages, all right, these libelous massages, you know, they were seemingly being organized. We don't know who sent these emails, of course, but look, we can't deny that massages were going on. Said Olga tonight, Big Katya tomorrow morning, Julia, Sasha, still haven't heard from. Oh, Olga has a flu. Sasha can do tomorrow morning. Jeffrey, also, I ran out of. Can I come with Sasha tomorrow? Still haven't heard from Big Katya, 9:30. Now, in these emails, which were later redacted, we clearly see somebody that's named Sue that's apparently organizing these massages. But again, I couldn't say, you know, totally exactly what's going on. This is from blank to Jeffrey Epstein. I got this message from Olga on the night of in the night at 1:20. Dear Sue, I'm sorry for bothering you, but can you please ask Jeffrey, should I come tomorrow? I just want to make sure if he has time to see me tomorrow. Thank you. Okay. So could have been any Sue, to be honest. Could have been absolutely any Sue. I don't want to get sued. It could be any Sue, and it definitely. I'm just going to move on. This is all opinion, and online theories and documents from the Department of Justice that they've released. Okay. Now, recruitment was another crucial element, okay, shown in this email to Epstein from somebody called Olga. All right, or at least says Ari from Olga, passing on a message that came from Olga, basically saying, hi, Jeffrey, I hope you're doing well. My sister's friend who currently lives in New York would be interested in meeting you. Please see attached her pic. Let me know if you'd be interested. And he replied, name, age, from where? Sorry for the typos sent from my iPhone. So, yeah, it's a little bit weird. People are definitely getting into the Epstein network and then recruiting other people. It's very unfortunate. Now, a follow-up email from Olga would provide even more insight into exactly what she was apparently doing for Epstein. Said, hey, Jeffrey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm taking a break from massage and yoga for some time. I wonder if yoga means yoga or if it means something else. Because for Jeffrey Epstein, it seems that massage doesn't actually mean what it's supposed to mean. Doesn't actually seem like it means what it's supposed to mean. Now, on June the 30th, 2014, this will be the next time we see an Olga mentioned. This is an email that has allegedly been linked to Susan Hamlin. Some people believe that redaction is her, but I can't possibly confirm or deny. That's just some people's opinions as far as what's going down and what's going around. But basically, okay, this would basically be a back and forth in a separate thread that kind of provides more context to what was going on. So I can read you this from the bottom to the top. It's a photograph of somebody with some kind of happy birthday cake in front of them. It says, maybe a ring in the left hand, from blank to Jeffrey Epstein. Another message from blank to Jeffrey Epstein. I want the best strategy for burying him in his own nonsense. I'm going to kill him slowly and painfully. I said when you had spoken to him sometime, one can lie to me, but if they lie to Jeffrey, that's it. I seriously hoped he wasn't. This is another picture of two guys with somebody else. I would believe that it's a woman based on the way that this dress line and the shoulder is out there, but I don't know for sure. Probably a woman. Somebody blank said this to Jeffrey Epstein. Said photo posted from 1 day ago from her birthday this past weekend. Keeping tabs on people, all right? And this is blank. Said, I phoned him. I said, someone sent me the photo. Of course, he denies that they're together. He wants to phone me after his meetings. Can I ask him if she is wearing an engagement ring? I won't if you say no, but it would put him so on the spot. Jeffrey Epstein said, ask. And then this person replied, and that looks like you tell me what letter you think that looks like at the end there. They said, K, love you. And then this basically went back and forth. So this was the context from the original message. Then it is basically said, I give you permission to kill him. He is apparently with Olga. He lied to you and he lied to me. And they replied, no one will lie to you and get away with it from me. No one. Whoops is correct. All right. And that's a pretty poor redaction up there. Let's just say that. Okay. Now, the person pictured in that email, okay, interestingly enough, is former Mighty Ducks actor and Tether crypto billionaire Brock Pierce.
If you remember the Mighty Ducks movies, you might know the flashback scenes of Coach Gordon Bombay as a child. Well, the actor who played that child is now a crypto billionaire. Brock Pierce, who co-founded Tether and is also an early Bitcoin and Ethereum investor, is estimated to have a fortune worth over $1.1 billion, and none of that is from acting royalties. He was also the first known person to take out a Bitcoin-backed mortgage in 2019, buying an old church in Amsterdam using BTC as collateral. We are glad to hear Brock is doing so well. Sadly for his Mighty Ducks co-star Goldberg, he is not so good.
So apparently this crypto billionaire, all right, is actually the guy that maybe was Mr. Steal Your Girl to Mr. Epstein. Now, not only is Pierce's name scattered throughout the Epstein emails, but he also actually carries his own set of dark and disturbing allegations, which we can't prove. This is just people's opinions and theories online. But, okay, there is a lot of stuff going on. It says, this tweet is from 2022. The guy who posted it died from drowning the exact same day. What? What? So it says CIA and Mossad and PDF elite are running some kind of S-trafficking entrapment blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and Caribbean islands. They're going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-GF who was a spy. They will torture me to death. There's people saying, and guess who was his friend that talked to the media after his death? None other than former child actor Brock Pierce, who assured us there was no conspiracy. Brock stated his mother clarified that his death had nothing to do with his conspiracy tweets. Right? Are we sure? Brock then happened to be the co-founder of Den Media Company along with Brian Singer, who were both accused of essay against teenage boys. What? Brock also happened to associate with Jeffrey Epstein, okay? Brock Pierce also poured millions into Puerto Rican real estate, pricing out locals. He attended a conference put together by Epstein on the Virgin Islands 18 months after Epstein's initial conviction of soliciting S-work from a minor. Another interesting fact is he somehow got lucky and became a Bitcoin billionaire. According to news reports, that money allowed him to become influential, perhaps even the top dog in the crypto millionaire space, always in the right place at the right time. Being a Bitcoin billionaire has zero to do with luck. It's the same kind of luck that made Epstein rich. Okay. We're not going to do that, giant China email. Why are people not making a bigger deal out of stuff like this? Honestly, why is this guy not in prison? When will the people hold these pieces of S accountable? It's so frustrating to read about stuff like this for years and nothing is done about it. They distract us with political BS, left versus right, while there are legitimately evil people running the planet into the ground. It says you could list things like this 24/7 every day for the rest of your life and you would have still only covered 0.1% of the conspiracies that go on every day but are forgotten quickly. We have goldfish memory and these types of events are so niche, it's genuinely easy to cover up something that we would assume would raise red flags. I saw this when it happened. All of these things lead to a few tweets and the odd remember when. That is it. They're saying that's it. It's crazy what you can do when you control the media. Any further information on this claim? That's crazy. Who is this guy? Nikolai Mushigian. He was some big crypto guy. So let's look about him on the Daily Mail. It said, paranoid crypto millionaire drowns in Puerto Rico after tweeting the CIA and Mossad were after him. Family say no foul play, but friends are suspicious after his sudden death. Nikolai Mushigian, 29, drowned in Colorado, Condado, Puerto Rico on October the 29th. The young tech millionaire from Florida was troubled with mental health issues. His family say there's no foul play involved and that he'd been in a spiral. Friends in the crypto community are suspicious of the timing of his death, and it came hours after he tweeted the CIA and Mossad were after him. He said they were going to come after him. He exposed the blackmail ring. He said they're going to torture him to death, and then he was suddenly found drowned. I mean, are we just gonna ignore that? We're just gonna pretend that didn't happen? We're just gonna pretend he didn't post this and die a day later, drowning. Do you think I'm dumb? Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm a dummy? Do you think I'm some sort of dummy? I just want to know, because I'm getting the impression that the powers that be think that I'm sort of dummy. So I'm some sort of simpleton. Okay. His mother would clarify his death had nothing to do with his conspiracy tweets. Is that really for you to say? Brilliant people sometimes walk the edge of insanity. His family was so concerned for his welfare, his father had gone to stay with him in Puerto Rico, where he lived in a $6 million house. Yeah, so Nikolai is effing dead. My money is on him being murdered. He was drowned 4 hours after his riskiest tweet ever. He had all year to drown randomly or be mugged, so it seems unlikely his death wasn't related to the tweet. Yeah? Okay. Okay. I don't know if I want to get in on this, because I don't know if that's that interesting. But the strange saga of Jeffrey Epstein's link to a child star turned cryptocurrency mogul. How Brock Pierce ended up as a Jeffrey Epstein guest, along with a NASA computer engineer and an MIT professor of electrical engineering, and a Nobel laureate in theoretical physics, is a bizarre tale involving Steve Bannon and an international man of mystery who may or may not be dead. So, for the record, right, this says editor's note, okay? Editor's note in this article. I hate websites like this that just freak out, they just bug out. In this article, the Hollywood Reporter reports on allegations about Brock Pierce relating to a lawsuit that was filed in 2000. Many of the allegations regarding Pierce in this lawsuit were later recanted, and one of the plaintiffs was actually convicted of fraud. Two witnesses testified. Two plaintiffs had offered them a substantial sum of money to testify falsely in the suit against Pierce, and Pierce's full statement can actually be found here. But let's read the article. It said, even before Jeffrey Epstein's mysterious death on August... Can I just highlight this without it going weird? No, I can't. Many people that knew him... We might have to rage quit the Hollywood Reporter. Many people that knew him were hoping the world would forget, or better yet, never learn they had associations with the notorious predator. One such person may be serially self-inventing entrepreneur Brock Pierce, who as a teenager co-founded the eventually infamous digital entertainment network, and who in the mid to late 90s was associated with an alleged S-abuse ring, one involving young men. Several later contended in court filings that Pierce and two associates had drugged and assaulted them at parties in their Encino mansion. Pierce was never charged with a crime and repeatedly denied wrongdoing. He settled with one plaintiff and two others dismissed their cases. In early 2011, about a decade after the digital entertainment network imploded, Pierce visited the Virgin Islands to attend a mind shift. Virgin Islands? A conference of top scientists hosted by Jeffrey Epstein. A representative for Pierce said he didn't even know who Epstein was when he flew commercial to the event, which the financier had arranged as part of his elaborate effort to launder his lurid reputation. It was not even 18 months after Epstein had completed his slap on the wrist for solicitation sentence in Florida and became a registered S-offender. The rep for Pierce says he saw Epstein after that meeting a few times over the intervening years at industry events where many other prominent people were present. He adds that the few communications that Mr. Pierce had with Epstein related to cryptocurrency, an area in which Pierce established himself as a crypto centimillionaire or maybe a billionaire in the years following the conference. Nothing suggests that anything of a sexual nature or anything untoward occurred at all at Mindshift. Pierce is only one of a dozens of figures in Epstein's dizzying vast network, and the links between the two may be nothing but a curiosity. But it is a strange tale how a former child actor who never went to college ended up as an Epstein guest, a seemingly unlikely addition to a group that included a NASA computer engineer, an MIT professor of electrical engineering, and a Nobel laureate in theoretical physics. I don't know what he had to do with science or why he was there, said one person who attended. Cryptocurrency was very much in its nascent stages when Epstein invited Pierce to Mindshift. His bio on a list of attendees reads entrepreneur, creator of virtual currencies and goods. His rep says he accepted the invitation for the opportunity to interact with major scientific thinkers and participated in a panel discussion on cryptocurrency with prominent scientists, none of whom appear to have any expertise in the area based on their bios from the same document. It's unclear what, if anything, Epstein expected to get from Pierce, who was unlikely to add to the prestige of the conference. Epstein's activities in the area of cryptocurrency remains mysterious. In 2017, he gave an interview to the website The Next Web, in which he expressed a vague interest in the area, and the Wall Street Journal has reported that Epstein claimed that he worked for the US Treasury Department on cryptocurrency. Another strand may connect Epstein to cryptocurrency and indirectly to Pierce. In 2015, Joy Ito, then director of the MIT Media Lab, announced a digital currency initiative. This came during a financially challenging time for the Bitcoin Foundation, the industry's first trade group founded in September 2012, and Ito hired cryptocurrency developers previously supported by the foundation. Just days after Ito's announcement, Pierce was named as the foundation's chairman. Ito recently resigned from the MIT Media Lab following reports he accepted major donations from Epstein and attempted to conceal the relationship. Pierce was also in business starting in the mid-2000s with former Trump's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, who had his own ties to Epstein. Bannon did not respond to requests for comment, but he apparently remains a fan of Pierce, who popped up lately as an unlikely presence in Trump world. Pierce's name is familiar to people in Hollywood who remember the short-lived Den, ahead of its time attempt to create online programming around the turn of the millennium, and the scandal surrounding it. Pierce's childhood career blossomed when he appeared in Disney's '92 film The Mighty Ducks, but by the time he was 17, he had given up acting. According to extensive media reports, when Den imploded, Pierce had been making $250,000 a year at the company. He shared a 12,600 square foot house with two other Den co-founders, the then 40-something entrepreneur Mark Collins Rector and Chad Shackley, a Michigan man then in his mid-20s. Shackley had lived with Collins Rector since dropping out of high school at 16. Pierce had also been 16 when he met Collins Rector, and although Collins Rector was already in a relationship with Shackley, Pierce later told Rolling Stone he was definitely in love with me, there's no question about that. Pierce said that he gave Collins Rector the idea of starting a company to create online entertainment, and at the time technology wasn't in a place to efficiently deliver digital content to consumers, but the company attracted investors including David Geffen, the former congressman Michael Huffington, as well as Microsoft and Dell. The Encino mansion where the Den trio lived became known for parties that drew A-list guests, and among them alleged predators Bryan Singer and producer Gary Goddard, though neither of them have faced legal charges and both denied the claims against them. But before Den's founders could cash in on a planned IPO, things fell apart. A young man sued, claiming Collins Rector had started molesting him when he was 13. More litigation followed regarding alleged goings on at the Den mansion. One alleged victim, Alexander Burton, claimed that Collins Rector, Pierce, and Shackley had supplied him with alcohol and drugs even though he was under 21, and that all three men subsequently assaulted him. Another accuser was said to have written an end-of-life note, reading in part, "I can't go on. I let them use me as an S tool. The note was discovered before an S attempt could be made. There were also accusations that Collins Rector would intimidate his victims by brandishing a gun. Pierce later said in a statement, "The allegations against me are not true. I have never had intimate or sexual contact with any of the people who made those allegations." His rep said the allegations in the lawsuit were false. In August 2000, Collins Rector was indicted for transporting minors across state lines for S, and the Den trio took off for Spain. The sojourn ended there in May 2002 when Interpol showed up, finding weapons and thousands of illicit Youngun images in their house, and Pierce said he was unaware of the images. While Pierce and Shackley were quickly released, Collins Rector was held in a Spanish jail until October 2003, when he was extradited to the US. In June 2004, he pleaded guilty to 5 counts of transporting minors for S, and after serving out his sentence, which after credit for time served only amounted to a few months, he left the country and renounced his citizenship, but BuzzFeed tracked him down in Europe in 2014. While the Den trio was still in Europe, the young men who had sued over alleged essay at the Encino house were awarded $4.5 million by default because the defendants couldn't be located. Pierce then later returned to the US and settled the claims against him, but the settlements do not address any payment to the accusers, and Pierce's reps say none was made. Even before returning to the country, Pierce already had a new line of work in 2001. While living with Collins Rector in Spain, he had created Internet Gaming Entertainment, a company that enabled devotees of online role-playing games to use virtual currency to buy virtual goods such as weapons. Eventually, the business branched into a practice prohibited by many gaming platforms, real money trading, in which players offered real cash for virtual goods in an online bio. Collins Rector declared himself to be a shadow founder of IGE, but a rep for Pierce says Collins Rector was never involved in any way with IGE. What's unclear is that when Collins Rector stopped being a part of Pierce's life, in a lawsuit against Pierce, a former partner in IGE claimed that Pierce had told him in 2005 that Collins Rector, then living overseas and according to the feds, still consorting with teenage boys, had been blackmailing him, threatening to damage IGE in the eyes of investors, and Pierce's rep says Collins Rector never threatened blackmail or denies that Pierce ever made such a statement. Pierce's rep suggests that the split with Collins Rector happened in stages. Mr. Pierce separated any business relationship when DEN failed, then the internet bubble burst in 2000. Pierce's personal relationship with Collins Rector lasted until 2003. The rep says that's after Collins Rector's indictment in 2000 and after Interpol showed up at the house in Spain in 2002. But Pierce's rep says at the time of his arrest, Collins Rector asserted his innocence. It wasn't until Pierce received additional information concerning Collins Rector's improper actions that he separated entirely. A couple years after Collins Rector apparently left Pierce's world, Bannon entered it. IGE had started minting money in part through a gold farming operation in China, with low-wage shift workers accumulating in-game currency and virtual goods to sell by playing around the clock. In 2005, Bannon visited the company's office in Hong Kong and arranged for private equity firms, including his former employer Goldman Sachs, to invest $60 million. Bannon became a vice chairman of the business with the idea that he would figure a way to make real money trading legit. In 2017, the Washington Post published an expose of IGE's dubious practices, such as using the identities of unwitting US residents to create gaming accounts, which were in place before Bannon came on board, but it was unclear whether Bannon was aware of such activities when he joined the firm, but they continued after his arrival. Pierce would later describe Bannon as my right-hand man for like 7 years, but the math on that is hard to figure. Bannon failed in his mission of legitimizing the business, and just a couple of years later he joined the company. IGE was facing declining revenues, growing blowback from online gaming companies, an investigation by Florida authorities, and a class action lawsuit. In 2007, not even 2 years after Bannon joined the company, he forced Pierce out as CEO and he took the job himself. According to reports, eventually the company got out of the virtual goods businesses and Bannon sold his stake. Pierce's rep says that he remained chairman of IGE until 2015 or 16, but there's no mention of that in the press release announcing Bannon's appointment. At some point, Bannon developed his own connection to Epstein. Although it's unknown when or how the relationship began, in August 2018 he was spotted paying an early morning visit to Epstein's New York townhouse, and New York Times columnist James B. Stewart reported that Epstein invited him to a dinner with Bannon that month. Stewart turned down the invitation, and Bannon told Times he did not attend. It was not long after Pierce's ejection from IGE that he emerged as a player in the world of cryptocurrency. Bannon also became involved in cryptocurrency, and Pierce founded a number of companies, including Blockchain Capital, where his bio identified him as a member of the Clinton Global Initiative. Bill Clinton, of course, had a relationship with Epstein, though he denied any knowledge of Epstein's wrongdoings. Pierce still seems to have been getting his footing in the still new world of cryptocurrency when he turned up at Epstein's 2011 conference. Al Seckel, the person who arranged the conference, was a gregarious and litigious poser who had convinced many people that he was a Cornell alum and a cognitive neuroscientist with ties to Caltech. The Mindshift conference featured several scientists from Caltech too. In fact, like Epstein, Seckel never graduated from college, but that hardly held him back. For example, Seckel gave the 2007 TED Talk on his particular passion, visual illusions. His TED bio, since corrected, described him as a cognitive neuroscientist. He also spoke at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and he was definitely what they called a connector, says producer Lawrence Bender, who recalls meeting Seckel at the TED Talk. He went out of his way to introduce me to different people. Seckel also threw splashy parties in Malibu, bringing together high-level people from various backgrounds. Though Seckel has many detractors, none have ever suggested that he was involved in any kind of sexual predation. Presumably, Seckel met Epstein through his sort of wife, Isabel Maxwell, the sister of alleged Epstein enabler Ghislaine Maxwell. What the hell? It's all connected. Whom he had married in 2007, while apparently still married to someone else. Whether Epstein was convinced by Seckel's phony credentials is unknown, but sources did say he did turn to Seckel to set up the Mindshift conference. Pierce's rep said that he had met Seckel through a networking gathering in Los Angeles and saw him at a few other events after that, which led to the Mindshift invitation. Among the star talent there was physicist and Nobel laureate Murray Gell-Mann and MIT professor Gerald Sussman. An online announcement of the event was vague about its purpose to try and push the frontiers of substantive topics. By the time of the conference, Seckel and Isabel Maxwell had relocated to France. Bender, who after meeting Seckel at the TED Talk had gotten to know him well enough to be invited to his wedding party and to visit him and his wife at their new home, says he had also started hearing rumors about Seckel's sketchy business dealings. It all started to make me feel like I'm hanging out with the wrong person. Then he disappeared. I thought, that's weird. Indeed, in July 2015, Seckel's body supposedly was found at the bottom of a cliff in France. He was 50... Not another one. Another one? Really? Really? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Really? Okay. Okay. Oh, my God. I'm going to add that to my list of suspicious deaths related to Jeffrey Epstein. Another one. We got another one. That is insane. What the hell? His body was found at the bottom of a cliff in France. He was 56. The echoes of the late Isabel Maxwell's father, Robert, found floating in the sea near his yacht in 1991 are hard to miss. Seckel died, it seems, just as Tablet magazine was preparing an article that alleged a litany of dubious business dealings as well as exposed Seckel's phony academic credentials and double marriage. Though the article appeared shortly after Seckel's supposed death, it was never updated to reflect Seckel's passing. Asked why author Mark Oppenheimer told The Hollywood Reporter in an email, "I was never able to establish my satisfaction that Seckel had died. Though he didn't devote a lot of time to the question," he continued, "I always had my suspicions that maybe he faked his own death. It would have been in character. Others who knew Seckel also have their doubts that he's dead, and in fact it's difficult to verify. Authorities in France did not respond to inquiries, and after all, the man had a passion for illusions." This is so bizarre. By February 2018, Pierce was listed 9th on Forbes' first list of cryptocurrency's richest, with a net worth estimated at $1 billion. Neil Strauss, the reporter who spent 10 days with him for the Rolling Stone profile, described the then-married 37-year-old as a person who rarely ate a full meal or slept in a bed. He crashed on random couches in the backseats of cars, on tables at bars. The article also noted that Pierce carried a satchel filled with small containers of various plant medicines, such as the Peruvian psychedelic San Pedro and the Amazonian tobacco rape, which he often snorts mid-meeting. He often snorts mid-meeting. Pierce was operating from and extolling the virtues of Puerto Rico and pledging he would use his wealth to rebuild the island. But escaping the shadow of Collins Rector and his notorious past still proved challenging. In March 2018, HBO's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver aired a segment about the speculative mania around the cryptocurrency market and focused on a startup called Block One. Oliver played tape of Pierce in a straw hat and jeans and what appeared to be a promotional video extolling a company that had already raised $1.5 billion. "Everything that exists is no longer going to exist in the way that it does today," Pierce says in the video. "Everything in this world is about to be better." Calling Pierce a sleepy, creepy cowboy from the future, John Oliver noted that Pierce had been involved in some very unsavory figures and urged viewers to Google Block Pierce scandal. He then played another clip in which Pierce rambled about intentionality before showing photos of his entirely unicorn wedding at Burning Man the previous year. The bridesmaids and groomsmen wore the colors of the rainbow plus pink, while the best man was a woman dressed in black cracking a whip. What is going on with these people? Bro. In the immediate aftermath of Oliver's takedown, Pierce was ejected from Block One. "Anything I accomplish in my life," Pierce told Rolling Stone, "ends up being discredited because of this old narrative." But Pierce is still mixing and mingling with the rich and powerful. In July, he attended a gala for the South Fork Natural History Museum in Bridgehampton, New York, that also attracted high-profile Trump world denizens, including Kimberly Guilfoyle and hedge fund billionaire John Paulson. More recently, he was on the guest list for Equinox and SoulCycle owner Stephen Ross's recent controversial Trump fundraiser, also held in the Hamptons. Despite their less than idyllic history at IGE, Bannon told the New York Times last year that he would have gotten involved He would have gotten involved with Pierce and cryptocurrencies in 2016 if the Trump campaign hadn't intervened. Asked about the mockery that John Oliver had heaped on Pierce, Bannon shrugged, saying he'd seen others triumph. Despite low expectations, these guys, he said, are visionaries. I'm just so confused and scared. This is another 2 very suspicious deaths that have been connected to the Epstein scandal. I'm just tired at this point, okay? Let me know what you thought of that. Do you think the 2 deaths that I discussed in this video are actually connected? Okay, do you feel like them emails where they're talking about, I'll kill someone for you? I just think it's a whole bunch of internet speculation. These are all just opinions. I don't hold anything as specific fact. Definitely don't want to get sued. And also I'm scared of everyone involved. So everyone's innocent. Everyone's cool. And I'm going to leave it there. Love being alive. Catch you guys in the next video. I'm out of here and I'm scared.